Okay, I'm pumped. You're pumped. I'm pumped. I'm pumped. Everybody pumped. Okay, so um, we just sysprep and shut down our VM. The next step, you can see obviously this is time consuming, right? When you're, um, I think some would just um, load the ISO. Obviously this is just my way of doing it. There's other ways of doing it, quicker ways of doing it. Probably even using other tools is much faster. But this part works for me, um, and I'm able to deploy, you know, version of Windows using this method. Uh, that if I was supposed to do it some other way, I would get other error message because the tool that you're using is not able to deploy that version of Windows 10, right? If you think about it, there's an 80K version for um, uh, a new release of MDT or a new version of Windows 10 that MDT/80K needs to be able to support that. So with this method, even though it's a little longer, um, sometimes it allows you to get away with deploying a more recent version of Windows with an older version of MDT and 80K. So that's what we're gonna do here. Um, so I'm not sure if it works, if it still supports it according to the MDT documentation, but hopefully it should. All right. So again, we just sysprep our VM that we just built using the latest Windows 10 ISO. Um, so now we're gonna capture it, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close out of that window. I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna go to settings. And in settings, you want to um, go down to your DVD drive, change that ISO from what it was, and actually you want to use a generic. If you could use the regular Windows 10 Light Touch PE. You could use that as well if that's all you have. But you can actually use a generic vanilla WinPE. And just Google how to create it. Once you download the 80K and once you install 80K and install MDT, you can now from the command line create a generic WinPE ISO. So just Google how to do that. We're not going to do that with this tutorial. I already have mine. So you can see I already have my WinPE since 2017, right? It's just a generic WinPE. I could even share this with you guys if you want, and you can see I have one for 32-bit, one for 64-bit. So this is a generic WinPE that I have. All right, so I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to go up to my boot order, and I want to make sure the DVD drive is at the top. Um, and let's move that down just in case as well. So I want to make sure my DVD drive, because that's the first thing I wanted to boot to, is at the top. So I'm going to hit apply, I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to go ahead and hit connect, and I'm going to power back on my VM. And you guys know when you're booting from a DVD or CD, you want to press any key. Like you saw that message, it says press any key to boot from CD or DVD. So I just did, and it's going to boot into my generic WinPE. So this is what it looks like, guys. The generic WinPE just pops up a command line, and you have, those basic commands. So I could do ipconfig, right? The one of the main thing in WinPE you got to have network connectivity, right? If you do not have it, you have to make sure, troubleshoot, do basic troubleshooting. I'm not going to go over that with you, but do basic troubleshooting. You should have an IP address, a valid internal, a valid IP address. If you're getting that 169.254, then you know it's not getting the IP address from the DHCP. Um, and good luck trying to manually assign an IP address. I'm pretty sure you can, but good luck trying to do that, right? So you have to go through the process of troubleshooting why you're not getting an IP address. So that's the very first thing. Once you get an IP address, you could do everything else. So what we want to do is to figure out next, where's our OS, where's our data located. So typically it's the C drive, right? So I'm going to do dir C and see what pops up. So that looks good. That is typically your C drive, right? Where you see your program files, right? You can see you have both of them, your x86, you have your users, and you have your Windows. Those are the typical standard folders on Windows, right? So for the heck of it, let's see if there's a D drive. What's in D? So you can see that's my D drive. Um, the D drive is probably that WinPE. So the C is what we're going to use. The C is what we're going to capture. Um, so I actually have uh, I have the steps here that I'm going to be using. So you can see here, um, I'm going to map a Z drive, and you could change this to any letter except for A or B or C or D. Um, so just any letter except for A, B, C, D, right? Just get away from those, or X. You can see X at the command line. That's what it's using. Um, and just pick a letter. I'm picking Z because typically it's not used. So I'm going to pick Z and I'm going to map to my share. So this is a share. If I go to, this is my MDT server here. So if I put in the computer name itself, right, um, there it is. My shares is going to come up. You can see it says capture. My security and my permission is already set up for this user to connect. And you're going to laugh at me here, but I do not remember this password. But it's okay. I'm going to use another account here. Um, so let's see. All right. So let's go ahead and map the shares first. Right. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to do CLS to clear off that. I'm going to say net use Z, the drive, colon, backslash, backslash, what is it? AKS S MDT1 captures. I think that was it. User AKS Kevin. Let's see. Perfect. Okay. So you could see um, that drive is now mapped. Um, my Z drive is now mapped. And now I'm going to capture my C drive um, to C drive to a WIM file to that share, right? So here's that command using dism, right? I'm just going to copy here. Here I'm just going to change Windows 10 to, I like to give a name, and this is up to you what name you give it to. H2 reference. I like to put the date so I know when this was built. You can see that one was built in 2017. So let's do 11/04/2020. Let's do that. And I like to copy that and put it. Okay, so I like to copy that same name here. Right, Windows 10, that. Um, Probably put those together. Windows 10, x64. Don't need it. Windows 10, x64. Don't really need all those space either. Well, let's just do it. Windows 10, x64. Right, that reference, that WIM. So I'm going to copy all of this, and I'm going to go over to my VM, my WinPE, and I'm going to paste clipboard and paste, and there we go. And I'm going to press enter. And if everything is working good, sooner or later you should see the percentage. But also if we go over to our MDT and we go to that captures folder, you can see there's the file. Nothing is there as yet, but as it starts to copy, the file should increase. So nothing is going on right now. We just have to wait. And this is standard. This is typical. Um, so we'll just wait for it to get started. I'll just go ahead and pause here until it gets started, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I am back. Just to let you guys know, that took a good 2 to 3 minutes from when I paused the video for it to start. But once it starts, it goes pretty quickly, in my opinion. You can see now it's at 9%. And if we go over to that share, you can see it's increasing in size. I would probably say it's going to go to anywhere between 4 gigs and about 9 gigabytes is how large it's going to be. Um, I don't think it's going to be more than 9 gigs, but I could be wrong. As you can see, I didn't do much. I just captured a VM, but there's some, when you're capturing, excuse me, when you're capturing these WIM files, there's other things you could do to shrink the size. You can see I only ran CC Cleaner to clean up, some of those temp files, but there's other things you could do to, make sure you're utilizing all the available, you know, you're removing all the junk from the systems um, that it doesn't need. In my experience, sometimes that removing those unnecessary files corrupt the system. So I try not to take that risk. CC Cleaner is probably as far as I'll go to try to reduce the image. Anything else, you're running the risk of having a corrupt image out there. But again, that's just my experience. And, there's other professionals out there that have a better, a smaller file when they're doing it. I'm just letting you know what I do. All right, so yeah, let's just go back, see how far we are with that. Yep, 31%. All right, so I'll go ahead and pause again and come back when it's finished. It's 11:07 a.m. Eastern Time right now, um, and we'll see how long it takes. Okay, so just unpausing now so you see where we're at. So you can see it just completed successfully. Not sure if you saw that, it was at 99% just now. So started around 11:07 a.m. Now it's 11:12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So did not take that much time, right? Um, so yeah, so now it's captured. We go over to our location. You can see, what did I say? Between 4 gigs and 9 gigs. So, yep, I was right there. So, yep, that looks good. Um, I'm now, once that's finished, you pretty much go and shut down the VM from here. So I'm just going to turn off. Right, this is not needed. At this time, now we just going to work inside our MDT environment. So typically the next step that I'd like to do, do you want to save changes? Sure, yes. All right, my next step is to bring up Windows System Image Manager, right? That's part of the ADT, ADK, ADT, the ADK, the ADK kit. Um, so I'm gonna run this as administrator. Let's see where we are. All right, so I realize I'm skipping a step. So I'm gonna run the Windows System Image Manager, but not before I import my WIM file into MDT because it needs to create that folder for it to have the the unattended XML and everything uh, um, associated with that WIM file. So I'm going to go here to my operating system. You can see here it has a Windows 7. It really should be Windows 10. I mean, who's deploying Windows 7 anymore? Come on, Kevin. Okay, I'm gonna do that. So now we should have two folders there. Hit finish. Actually, let's delete this one. This is all the way from this is Windows 10 1607. So pretty old. Get rid of yeah. Force delete that one. Get it out of here. Don't need that one anymore. Don't need it around. All right. So let's go ahead and import now my WIM. I'm gonna go here. Go to where that image is located. It's on my local disk in the capture folder, open. And I'm actually going to copy. I could check this box to move it, um, but just in case something quirky happens, because I've seen that where I've imported my newly created WIM file and then I screwed it up with what I was doing. And I wish I had took a backup or a copy that instead of moved it. So what I'm gonna do, I am going to copy it. I'm gonna uncheck that box and I'm gonna copy it instead of move it. That way, if something happens, I could go back to that original one that I copied, right? In IT, you always have a backup, right? Always have a backup because things can go wrong. Um, Oh shit, did I put the wrong date there? That was I put 1102. It should have been 04. No big deal. Um, let's click that, keep everything the same, and next. So here you can see it's copying up here. That's the key. Yep, so we'll just wait for that to copy. I realized something that I did not talk about is this particular command. If you Google online, they will talk more about it. But at a high level, this is showing the Z drive that we had mapped previously, right? When we were in that WinPE environment, we did the net use Z colon space backslash and that name. So you can see here, this is our target location. We're saving to the Z drive with this name as a WIM file, and we're capturing the C drive. You remember when I did the dir space C colon D colon, right? I was trying to find the contents, which drive I'm gonna capture. So I captured here my C drive, right? My C drive here, and I give it that that same name. And it looks like I put that WIM on the name, and I shouldn't have. Not here. This part needed the WIM, so I made a few mistakes here, but it seems like it went. It took it. So now I could include that with the name. Yep. Uh, just just wasn't paying attention to the command here, but that command should have been like that. This part needed the WIM, but not this part, right? This part, you needed to have the .wim on it, but this part, you remove the .wim. So my mistake there, um, that I had that included, but it took it, didn't error out, and we're fine there. So that's that's kind of one of the problems with copy and paste, right? Copy and paste, you're not paying attention. That's what happens. All right, so here we are. My WIM file is created, right? OS is imported, and typically what I like to do, because this have a lot, so I'm gonna erase that part of it, and that's all it should be right there. All right, so that's created, that's in your operating system folder. So if you go to your operating system, there's that folder, and you can see there's your WIM file that's in it, that's copied to it. All right, so now is when we go to the Windows System Image Manager. And fingers crossed, hopefully this works. So I see cases where it would not allow me to. So let's, I am going to go down here, select your Windows image. So I'm going to go to my C drive, my MDT folder, and my operating system, and select my WIM file. There it is. And this is where it's going to try to create that catalog file. So let's see. Fingers crossed. Hopefully this part works. Very important. I've seen cases with this where um, this part has to be done on a 32-bit system. So if this fails, which I'm knocking on wood, hopefully it does not. If this part fails, you have to do it within a 32-bit environment. So hopefully this part goes. And again, you guys are seeing how long this takes. Once it's complete, that's the cool thing about this Windows deployment process is you can now deploy this image to any computer, right? If you're deploying Windows 7, Windows 10, you could deploy to any computer. You just need to add your particular driver pack for that model machine. But you don't need to do this for every single make computer out there like you would have in the past with some imaging tool. Once this is built and set up, um, you you have just follow the Windows deployment cycle, right? You have a while before you'll need to build another Windows 10. You'll have your applications out there to update those system, whether that's download the updates from Microsoft directly, or other application that push those patches, and update those windows to different features as they come out. So really, this part is really for new computers, right? New computers that are coming in, um, as well as for, if hard drive, something crashed, or you're replacing a hard drive, something like that. But typically, going forward, once you push this out to your environment, they're going to get all those updates from another source, um, whether that's directly from Microsoft or from SCCM, um, or from other, Heat or other patch solution that they're going to be getting their updates from. But though this takes a while to get set up and get up, up and running, once it's up and running, it's beautiful. It's just that initial setup takes a while. All right, so perfect. It looks like that worked. That's awesome. So you can see it created that catalog, which is very important. If I go over here, um, back to my operating system folders, you're going to see that file that it created, right? So up. That's the file right there that it created, that CLG file. So typically what I do, I'll close out now, go back into my MDT, right click. I always like to right click and run as administrator. Not sure if it does anything, but it's just something I like. So I'm actually seeing I'm 25 minutes, so longer than my other video. So I'm going to stop here and then I'll do another.